I honestly don't even know where to begin with this, but I need to get it all out because I feel like I'm losing my mind. Everything I thought I knew about my family has been turned completely upside down in the span of just a few weeks, and I'm still processing all of it. I guess I should start from the beginning, even though thinking about it makes me feel physically sick. So I turned 28 3 weeks ago. I know that might seem like just another birthday, not a milestone or anything particularly special, but birthdays have always been a big deal in my family, or at least I thought they were. My parents, especially my mom, always made such a huge production out of everyone's birthday. We're talking decorations, homemade cake, the whole family gathering together, presents, the works. It didn't matter if you were turning 5 or 50, my mom treated every birthday like it was the most important day of the year. She'd start planning weeks in advance, texting everyone to make sure they cleared their schedules, coordinating who would bring what, the whole 9 yards. Growing up, I always felt so loved on my birthday. My mom would wake me up with breakfast in bed, my dad would take the day off work if it fell on a weekday, and my siblings would actually be nice to me for once. It was tradition. It was something I could count on, Even as we all got older and life got busier, Mom always made sure we celebrated properly. Just last year for my 27th, she threw this amazing dinner party with all my favorite foods, invited my closest friends, and even managed to track down this specific type of cake I'd mentioned loving when I was like 12. That's the kind of mom she was, attentive, caring, or so I thought. This year my birthday fell on a Saturday, which I was really excited about because it meant everyone would be free. No work excuses, no school conflicts, nothing. I didn't want to be presumptuous and just assume they were planning something, so about 2 weeks before, I casually mentioned it to my mom during our weekly phone call. I said something like, "Hey, my birthday's coming up on the 23rd. I'm so glad it's on a weekend this year." And she was like, "Oh yes, honey, I know." That was it. No elaboration. No, we're planning something special. Nothing. I thought maybe she was trying to keep it a surprise or something, so I didn't push it. The week of my birthday, I texted the family group chat, which includes my parents, my older brother Derek, my younger sister Maya, and my older sister Hannah. I sent a casual message like, "Can't believe I'm almost 28, where does the time go?" with a laughing emoji. I saw that everyone read it. Derek responded with a thumbs up emoji. That was literally it. No one else said anything. I started feeling a little uneasy, but I pushed it down. Maybe they were all in on the surprise together. My birthday morning arrived and I woke up around 8. No texts, no calls. I checked my phone obsessively, thinking maybe I'd somehow missed notifications, but no, nothing. I waited for my mom's traditional birthday morning call. 9 o'clock came and went, then 10. By 11, I was starting to feel really anxious and honestly pretty hurt. I kept making excuses in my head like maybe they were all driving to my place to surprise me, or maybe they had something planned for the afternoon, or maybe Mom's phone died. At 11:30, I finally got a text from my mom. My heart actually jumped because I thought, okay, here it is, the explanation, the "we're on our way" something. I opened it and it said, "Can you check if I left my blue cardigan at your place last time I visited? I can't find it anywhere." I just stared at my phone. I read it like 5 times thinking I must be missing something. A follow-up text maybe, or a PS happy birthday. But no, that was it. She literally just wanted to know about her cardigan. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I didn't even respond. I couldn't. I just sat there on my couch in the apartment I'd cleaned top to bottom thinking I might have people over, wearing the new dress I'd bought for the occasion, feeling like the biggest idiot in the world. I didn't know whether to cry or scream or what. I just felt numb. Around 1 in the afternoon, I got another text, this time from my dad. Finally, I thought. I opened it and it said, "Do you still have the number for that plumber you used last year? We've got a leak in the basement bathroom." I actually did start crying then, not like sobbing, just tears silently rolling down my face while I sat there. My own father couldn't remember it was my birthday, neither could my mother, or my siblings who hadn't texted at all. I spent my entire birthday alone. I didn't reach out to anyone because some part of me just wanted to see if anyone would remember on their own. I ordered Chinese food for one, ate it while watching Netflix, and went to bed at like 9:30. It was hands down the most depressing day I'd had in years. I felt so forgotten, so unimportant, so completely invisible to the people who were supposed to love me most in the world. But here's where it gets weird, and this is the part that I still can't fully wrap my head around. At 11:04 p.m., right as I was about to fall asleep, my phone started blowing up. And I mean blowing up. Text after text after text, all coming in rapid succession. I grabbed my phone and they were all from my family, every single one of them. "Mom, happy birthday, sweetheart. I can't believe my baby is 28. Hope you had the most wonderful day. Love you so much." "Dad, happy birthday, princess. 28 looks good on you. Sorry for the late text. Got caught up with the leak situation. Love you." Derek, yo, happy birthday, sis. Getting old, haha. Hope it was a good one. Maya, happy birthday, 28 and still fabulous. Love you. Hannah, happy birthday to my amazing sister. Hope your day was as special as you are. I just laid there staring at these messages, and I felt this weird mix of relief and confusion and anger all swirling together. They did remember, just at 11 p.m., after I'd spent the entire day thinking they'd all forgot, after my mom asked about her cardigan and my dad asked about a plumber, after I'd spent my birthday completely alone and crying. I didn't respond to any of them that night. I honestly didn't know what to say. The next morning, I woke up to a few more messages asking if I'd seen their texts, hoping I'd had a great day, casual stuff like that. My mom called me around 10, and I debated not answering, but I did. Hi, honey, she said, all cheerful. Did you see our messages last night? I hope you had a wonderful birthday. What did you end up doing? I took a breath and said, as calmly as I could, Mom, you texted me at 11 p.m. on my birthday, after not mentioning it all day, after texting me in the morning to ask about your cardigan. There was a pause and then she laughed, actually laughed. Oh, sweetie, I know, I'm sorry about that. Your father and I were just so busy yesterday with the leak and everything, and then we were watching a movie and I looked at the clock and realized we hadn't wished you happy birthday yet. I felt terrible, but I figured better late than never, right? Better late than never, that's what she said. Like wishing your daughter happy birthday at the last possible minute of the day was just a minor oops, no big deal. Mom, I said, and my voice was shaking, you didn't even acknowledge it was my birthday until 11 at night. Do you have any idea how that made me feel? I spent the entire day alone thinking everyone had forgotten. Oh, honey, don't be so dramatic, she said, and I could hear the eye roll in her voice. We didn't forget, we texted you. You're 28, not 8. You're too old to be this upset about birthday wishes coming a little late. I honestly didn't know what to say to that. This was so unlike my mom, or at least unlike the mom I thought I knew. I mumbled something about having to go and hung up. I felt even worse than I had the day before somehow. Not only had they barely acknowledged my birthday, but now I was being made to feel childish and dramatic for being hurt about it. Over the next few days, I got a few more casual texts from various family members, but nobody seemed to think anything was wrong. Nobody apologized beyond my mom's flippant "sorry about that." It was like I was living in an alternate reality where this was completely normal behavior. I decided I needed to talk to someone outside the family about this, so I called my best friend Rachel. I'd been friends with Rachel since college, and she knew my family pretty well. I told her everything, and there was this long silence on the other end of the phone. That's really weird, she finally said. Like, really weird. Your mom is usually so over the top about birthdays. I still remember how she flew out for your 25th even though she had that work conference. This doesn't make sense. I know, I said. That's why I feel so confused. Like, did I do something to piss them all off? Is this some kind of punishment? Or am I actually being dramatic like my mom said? You're not being dramatic, Rachel said firmly. They iced you out all day on your birthday and then love-bombed you at the last minute. That's weird behavior. Have things been okay with your family otherwise? I thought about it. I think so. I don't see them as much as I used to since I moved to the city, but we text regularly. I visit at least once a month. Everything seemed normal. Maybe something's going on that you don't know about, Rachel suggested. Family stuff they haven't told you about. That conversation stuck with me. I started thinking back over the past few months, trying to remember if there had been any signs that something was off. And the more I thought about it, the more little things started coming back to me. My mom being weirdly short with me on phone calls sometimes. My siblings taking hours or even days to respond to texts when they used to reply right away. My dad seeming distracted the last time I visited. There had been little things, but I'd just written them off as everyone being busy with their own lives. I decided to do a little digging. I know it sounds bad, but I needed to understand what was going on. I started with social media, looking through my family members' profiles to see if there was anything I'd missed. My mom doesn't post much, and neither does my dad, but my siblings are pretty active. I was scrolling through Maya's Instagram when I found something that made my blood run cold. It was a post from 2 months ago that I'd somehow missed. It was a family photo. My parents, Derek, Maya, and Hannah, all dressed up and smiling at some fancy restaurant. The caption said, "Family dinner at Giovanni's. Love these people so much. Blessed family good times." I stared at that photo for a long time. Giovanni's was the nicest Italian restaurant in my hometown, the kind of place you go for special occasions, and they'd all gone together, without me, and nobody had mentioned it, not before, not after, not ever. I scrolled further, my heart pounding. 3 months ago, there was a photo from Hannah of her and my mom at some kind of spa day. Mom-daughter day, so needed this. Self-care mommy-daughter time. A month before that, Derek had posted a picture from what looked like a family game night at my parents' house. Everyone was there, except me. I went back through my memories of those times. 2 months ago when they went to Giovanni's, my mom had told me she couldn't talk long because she had a headache. 3 months ago during the spa day, Hannah had canceled our lunch plans last minute saying something came up at work. The game night, I'd texted the family chat asking what everyone was up to and got a bunch of responses about how everyone was just having a quiet night at home. They'd lied to me multiple times. They were getting together regularly without me and actively hiding it from me. I felt sick. I actually ran to the bathroom and threw up. Once I calmed down, I did more digging. I looked through Facebook, Instagram, even Twitter. I found more evidence of family gatherings I hadn't been invited to, a movie night, someone's work promotion celebration, a weekend brunch, all within the past 4 or 5 months, all without me, all kept secret from me. I felt like my entire world was crumbling. This wasn't just about a forgotten birthday anymore. This was systematic exclusion from my own family. But why? What had I done? I racked my brain trying to think of something, anything that might have caused this. Had I offended someone, forgotten something important? I came up empty. I decided to reach out to Hannah. She was the oldest, and we'd always been close growing up. If anyone would be straight with me, it would be her. I called her, and she answered on the third ring. "Hey, what's up?" she said, sounding cheerful. "Hey, Han," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Can we talk about something?" "Sure, what's going on?" I took a breath. I'm going to be really direct here. I saw the posts on social media. The family dinners, the gatherings, the ones I wasn't invited to. What's going on? Did I do something wrong? There was a long, heavy silence. Then Hannah sighed. "I was wondering when you were going to notice." My stomach dropped. "So it's true. You've all been getting together without me, deliberately." "It's not like that," Hannah said, but her voice was weak, unconvincing. "Then what is it like?" I asked, and I couldn't keep the hurt out of my voice. "Please, Hannah, I need to understand. The birthday thing was bad enough, but this, what did I do?" Another sigh. "You didn't do anything. Not really. It's just, okay, this is going to sound bad, but we all kind of decided that we needed some space from you." I felt like I'd been slapped. Space from me? What does that even mean? "You have to understand," Hannah said, and she was talking faster now, like she wanted to get it all out. "It's not about you as a person. It's just, you moved away. You started your life in the city. You've got your fancy job and your apartment and your city friends. You're different now. And when you come home, it's like, I don't know, like you don't really fit anymore. You talk about things none of us understand or care about. You've gotten kind of judgy." "Judgy?" I repeated, incredulous. "How have I been judgy?" "Come on," Hannah said, and now there was an edge to her voice. The comments about Derek still living at home, the raised eyebrows when Maya talked about her job at the salon, the suggestions that mom and dad should upgrade their lifestyle. "You act like you're better than us now." I was stunned into silence. Yes, I'd moved to the city for a job opportunity. Yes, my life looked different than it had, but I'd never thought I was acting superior. Derek was 32 and still living in our parents' basement, and I'd made one comment about how it might be nice for him to have his own place. Maya had complained about her job constantly, and I'd suggested she might look into other options if she was unhappy. I'd mentioned to my parents that they deserved to splurge on themselves sometimes, since they'd spent so much of their lives taking care of us. These seemed like normal, caring things to say to family. "Hannah, I never meant anything like that," I said quietly. "I was just trying to be supportive." "Well, it didn't come across that way," she said. "And it's not just me who feels like this. We all talked about it. Mom, Dad, everyone. We decided that maybe we needed to create some distance, let you live your city life, and we'd just do our own thing as a family here." "I'm your family too," I said, and my voice broke. "You're my family. I'm allowed to have a different life and still be part of the family." "I know," Hannah said, and she sounded tired. "Look, I don't want to be the bad guy here. This wasn't my idea. Well, it wasn't just my idea. We all sort of came to this conclusion together. Maybe we handled it badly. The birthday thing was probably too far, but honestly, we didn't think you'd even notice that much. You're so busy with your own life." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You didn't think I'd notice that my entire family forgot my birthday and has been excluding me from gatherings for months?" "We didn't forget your birthday," Hannah said defensively. "We all texted you. At 11 at night. We still texted. God, you're being so sensitive about this." That word, sensitive, the same dismissiveness my mom had used, like my feelings were an overreaction, an inconvenience. I have to go, I said, and hung up before she could respond. I sat in my apartment for hours after that call, just staring at the wall, trying to process. My family had collectively decided I didn't fit with them anymore. They'd had discussions about me behind my back. They'd made a conscious choice to exclude me, and they didn't think they'd done anything wrong. In fact, they seemed to think I was the problem. The more I sat with it, the more the shock gave way to anger. White-hot, burning anger. I'd been nothing but loving to my family. Yes, I'd moved for my career. Yes, my life looked different. But I'd never stopped caring about them, never stopped making an effort, never stopped showing up. And this was how they repaid me, by icing me out and then gaslighting me into thinking I was overreacting when I got hurt. I thought about all the birthdays my mom had thrown for everyone else. Just 3 months ago, she'd organized this huge surprise party for Derek's 32nd birthday, and I'd driven 3 hours each way to be there. I'd brought an expensive gift, stayed to help clean up, made sure to be the supportive little sister. And they couldn't even remember to wish me happy birthday until the literal last hour of the day. The revenge thoughts started creeping in slowly. At first, I pushed them away, thinking I should be the bigger person, that I should try to repair this relationship. But the more I thought about how they'd treated me, how they'd lied to me, how they'd dismissed my feelings, the more I thought maybe they deserved a taste of their own medicine. I started planning, not anything crazy or illegal, just a way to show them exactly how their behavior felt, a way to make them understand. And maybe, if I'm being completely honest, a way to hurt them the way they'd hurt me. The first thing I did was pull back completely. I stopped initiating texts. I stopped calling. I wanted to see how long it would take for anyone to notice. My mom usually called me every Sunday, so that would be the real test. Sunday came and went, no call. I waited until Wednesday. Nothing. The following Sunday, still nothing. 2 weeks went by without a single member of my family reaching out to me. 2 weeks. That told me everything I needed to know about how much they actually valued my presence in their lives. During those 2 weeks, I did some serious thinking and planning. I looked at my calendar and noted upcoming family events. Maya's birthday was in 6 weeks. My parents' anniversary was in 2 months. Hannah's son's birthday, my nephew Liam, who I absolutely adored, was in 3 months. Normally, I'd already be planning what to get everyone, arranging time off work to attend celebrations, but not this time. I also started documenting everything. I took screenshots of all the social media posts showing family gatherings I wasn't invited to. I went back through my texts and found all the times they'd lied about what they were doing. I created a whole folder on my computer with evidence of the systematic exclusion. I wasn't sure what I'd do with it yet, but I wanted it organized. Around the 3-week mark after my birthday, my mom finally called. I debated not answering, but I was curious what she wanted. "Hi, sweetie," she said, bright and cheerful as ever. "How are you? I feel like we haven't talked in forever." The audacity of that statement. I'd talked to Hannah 3 weeks ago, and my mom knew that, unless Hannah hadn't told her about our conversation, which was possible. "I'm fine," I said, keeping my voice neutral, busy with work. "Oh, that's good. Listen, I was going through some old photos, and I found the cutest picture of you from your first day of kindergarten. I'm going to frame it for the hallway. Aren't I sweet?" She wanted praise for framing a photo of me. After everything, I almost laughed. "Sure, Mom, sounds great." There was a pause. I think she was expecting more enthusiasm. "So what's new with you?" she asked. "Anything exciting happening?" "Not really," I said. "Just work, the usual." "How are your friends? How's Rachel?" "She's good." Another pause. The conversation was dying because I wasn't carrying it like I usually did. I wasn't asking about her life, or Dad, or my siblings. I was giving nothing. "Is everything okay, honey?" Mom finally asked. "You seem off." "I'm fine," I said, "just tired." "Okay, well, don't work too hard. You know, we worry about you up there in the city all alone." That almost broke me. Worry about me. They'd excluded me from family gatherings for months and barely acknowledged my birthday, but sure, they worried about me. "I'll be fine, Mom. I should go. I have a work thing." "Oh, okay, love you." "Bye," I said and hung up without saying it back. It was petty, but it felt good. Over the next few weeks, I continued the minimal contact approach. I responded to texts with 1 or 2 words. I kept phone calls brief. I showed exactly as much interest in their lives as they'd shown in mine. Then Maya's birthday arrived. It was on a Thursday, and I knew my mom would be throwing her usual big party that weekend. Sure enough, 3 days before Maya's birthday, my mom sent a text to the family group chat. "Maya's birthday celebration this Saturday at 3 p.m. at the house. Everyone please come. I'm making her favorite foods and Dad's grilling. It's going to be a beautiful day. Everyone responded quickly. Derek said he'd be there. Hannah said she and Liam wouldn't miss it. My dad sent a string of happy emojis. I didn't respond at all. Saturday came. Around noon, my mom texted me directly. Are you coming today? I didn't see you respond to the group chat. I waited 2 hours before responding. Can't make it, have plans. My phone rang almost immediately. My mom. What do you mean you have plans? She asked when I answered. It's your sister's birthday. I know, I said calmly. I sent Myra a text this morning wishing her happy birthday, but I have other plans today. What plans? Mom demanded. What could be more important than your sister's birthday? Just plans with friends, I said vaguely. I committed to them a while ago. This was technically true. Rachel and I were getting brunch and going to a museum. Plans I'd made 3 days ago specifically, so I wouldn't be tempted to cave and go to Maya's party. Well, cancel them, Mom said like it was obvious. This is family. I can't cancel last minute, that would be rude, I said. Tell Maya I hope she has a great day. She's going to be so disappointed, Mom said, and her voice had that guilt-trippy quality that usually would have worked on me. We're all going to be here. You're really going to be the only one who doesn't show up. I guess so, I said. I really do have to go, Mom. Tell everyone I said hi. I hung up before she could argue further. My hands were shaking, but I felt oddly empowered. For the first time in my life, I'd set a boundary with my family and stuck to it. That evening, I saw the photos on social media. The whole family gathered around Maya, who was smiling in front of a cake with 26 candles. The caption from my mom's Facebook said, "Almost the whole family here to celebrate our Maya. Missing one but still a wonderful day." Missing one, that's how she referred to me, not even by name. I got a few texts from Maya that night. Thanks for the birthday text. Wish you could have been here. It wasn't the same without you. That one actually made me feel a little guilty. Maya was the youngest, and I'd always had a soft spot for her. But then I remembered how she'd been part of the collective decision to exclude me, how she'd been at all those family gatherings and never once thought to invite me or tell me about them. The guilt faded. I responded, sorry I couldn't make it. Hope it was fun. The fallout from missing Maya's party was bigger than I expected. Over the next few days, I got texts from multiple family members. Derek, Mom says you ditched Maya's party. Not cool. Hannah, you're really going to start skipping family events now. Mature. Even my dad weighed in. Your mother is upset that you missed your sister's birthday. Please make more of an effort to prioritize family. I didn't respond to any of them in detail, just variations of sorry, had other plans, and left it at that. What was interesting was that none of them seemed to see the irony. They could exclude me from countless family gatherings, but me missing one party was apparently a major betrayal. The double standard would have been funny if it wasn't so infuriating. My mom called me the following Sunday, right back on her usual schedule like clockwork. We need to talk about what happened last weekend, she said, skipping any greeting. Okay, I said. You really hurt Maya's feelings by not coming to her party, and you hurt mine too. I don't understand why you're acting like this. I took a deep breath. This was it. The moment I could either confront her with everything I knew or continue to play dumb. I chose confrontation. Mom, I've been excluded from family gatherings for months. You've all been getting together without me, lying to me about it, and posting about it on social media like I wouldn't notice. You barely acknowledged my birthday, and now you're mad at me for missing one party. Silence, long, heavy silence. I don't know what you're talking about, she finally said, but her voice was off, uncertain. Giovanni's 2 months ago, the game night at your house, Hannah's spa day with you, multiple other gatherings. Should I go on? More silence. Those were just spontaneous things, Mom said weakly, not planned events. Really? Because the reservation at Giovanni's seems pretty planned, and Hannah posted about the spa day a week before it happened, talking about how excited she was. You're keeping tabs on us now. That's a little creepy, don't you think? The deflection, the turning it around on me, I'd expected it, but it still stung. I'm not keeping tabs. I'm noticing what you post publicly on social media. There's a difference. Look, Mom said, and her tone shifted to the one she used when she wanted to end a conversation. Maybe we have had some family time without you, but that's because you're so far away. It doesn't make sense to invite you to every little thing when you'd have to drive 3 hours. You could have at least told me about them instead of lying, I said. And it does make sense for big things like nice dinners and birthday parties. You know, the way you invited me to Derek's surprise party that I drove 6 hours round trip for. That was different. How? It just was, and honestly, this attitude you have right now, this is exactly why we needed some space. You're being confrontational and accusatory, instead of just understanding that families sometimes do things in smaller groups. I almost laughed, almost. Mom, Hannah told me the truth. She told me you all decided as a family to exclude me because I don't fit anymore and I'm judgmental, so you can drop the act about spontaneous gatherings. I heard her sharp intake of breath. Hannah clearly hadn't mentioned our conversation to her. Well, Mom said after a moment, and her voice was cold now. If Hannah told you, then you know. Yes, we've been spending time together as a family. The family that's actually here and present and part of each other's daily lives. You made your choice when you moved away. Moving away for a job doesn't mean I stopped being your daughter, I said, and my voice cracked despite my best efforts. Of course you're still our daughter, but you're not really part of our day-to-day family anymore. You have your own life. We have ours. That's just how it is. That's not how it has to be, I said. You're choosing this. And you chose to move away and become someone we barely recognize, Mom shot back. So maybe we're all making choices. I felt tears starting, and I refused to let her hear me cry. I need to go. Fine, but think about your priorities. Family should come first, and lately, it seems like we're at the bottom of your list. The sheer projection of that statement left me speechless. I hung up without responding. I cried for about an hour after that call. Not just sad crying, but angry, frustrated, confused crying. How had I become the villain in this story? I'd moved for a job, yes, but I'd maintained contact, visited regularly, showed up for important events, been supportive and loving. And somehow I was the one who wasn't prioritizing family. After I calmed down, I realized something. They were never going to see my side. They were never going to acknowledge what they'd done wrong. In their minds, I was the one who had changed, who had left, who had broken the family dynamic. And nothing I said was going to change that perspective. So I decided to stop trying. If they wanted to exclude me and then blame me for being excluded, fine. But I was done playing the role of the guilty party. I was done begging for scraps of their attention and affection. I was going to focus on the people who actually valued me. Over the next month, I essentially went no contact with my family. I didn't block them or make any dramatic announcements. I just stopped responding to most messages. If someone texted me, I might respond a day or two later with something brief. If someone called, I usually didn't answer, and if I did, I kept it short. I removed myself from the family group chat, citing that the notifications were too much while I was busy with work. The reaction was interesting. At first, they seemed almost relieved, like I was finally accepting my place outside the family circle. But as weeks went by and I continued to be distant, I noticed a shift. My mom's texts became more frequent, more probing. Is everything okay? You seem distant. Did we do something wrong? That last one almost made me laugh. Did they do something wrong? Only exclude me, forget my birthday, lie to me repeatedly, and then blame me for being hurt about it. But sure, let's pretend to be confused about why I might be distant. My parents' anniversary was coming up, and I knew my siblings were planning something. I saw Hannah post about working on a special project for 2 special people, with a heart emoji. Normally, I would have been included in those plans, probably asked to contribute money or ideas. This time, nothing. Their anniversary arrived, and I sent a polite text to my parents. Happy anniversary, hope you have a wonderful day. That was it. No gift, no card, no showing up to whatever celebration the others had planned. My mom called me that evening. I let it go to voicemail. She left a message, and I could hear that she'd been drinking, probably champagne from the celebration. Hi honey, it's Mom. Just wanted to thank you for the anniversary text. We had such a beautiful day. Your brothers and sisters put together this whole surprise thing. It was so lovely. We missed you though. It would have been nice to have you here. Anyway, call me back when you get this. Love you. The guilt trip was obvious, but it didn't work like it used to. I didn't call back. A few days later, Hannah called me. I was surprised enough that I actually answered. We need to talk, she said, no greeting. Okay, I said. What's going on with you? You're ghosting the whole family. You didn't even come to Mom and Dad's anniversary thing. I wasn't invited to Mom and Dad's anniversary thing, I pointed out. You're their daughter. You don't need an invitation. Don't I? I need invitations to family dinners and game nights, apparently. Hannah sighed, long and exasperated. Are you ever going to let that go? So we had some gatherings without you. It's not that deep. It is that deep, Hannah, but I'm not going to keep arguing about it. You all made it clear where I stand. I'm just accepting it. By completely cutting us off. I'm not cutting you off. I'm just not going out of my way anymore. I'm matching your energy. That's bullshit and you know it, Hannah said, and she was getting heated now. You're being petty and vindictive because your feelings got hurt. You're supposed to be the mature one. Why am I supposed to be mature when you all get to be petty and vindictive first? I asked. You literally told me the whole family decided to exclude me. You forgot my birthday. You lied to me for months, but I'm the one who needs to be mature and get over it. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. You said it yourself. You all talked about me behind my back and decided I didn't fit anymore. So fine, I don't fit. I'm not going to keep trying to squeeze into a family that doesn't want me. Nobody said we don't want you, Hannah said, but she sounded uncertain now. You didn't have to say it, you showed it. Actions speak louder than words, isn't that what Mom always says? Hannah was quiet for a moment. Then in a smaller voice she said, Mom's really upset, you know, she thinks she's losing you. She is losing me, I said bluntly. She lost me when she decided to ask about her cardigan instead of wishing me happy birthday. She lost me when she lied to my face about why I wasn't being invited to things. She lost me when she told me I was being too sensitive for being hurt. You all lost me. So what, this is it? You're just done with us. I don't know, I said honestly. Right now I'm protecting myself. Being around you all, trying to be part of a family that doesn't want me there, it hurts too much. So yeah, I'm pulling back. If that makes me the bad guy in your story, I can live with that. You're being so dramatic, Hannah said, but there was less conviction in it now. Maybe I am, or maybe I'm finally standing up for myself. Either way, I'm done with this conversation. I hope you all have a nice life, Hannah. I really do. I hung up, my hands were shaking, but I felt oddly calm, detached almost, like I was watching this happen to someone else. The weeks that followed were some of the strangest of my life. On one hand, I felt this profound grief, like I was mourning my family even though they were all still alive. On the other hand, I felt lighter than I had in months. No more anxiously checking my phone for messages. No more overanalyzing every interaction. No more feeling like I wasn't good enough. I threw myself into my life in the city. I spent more time with Rachel and my other friends. I took up new hobbies. I went on dates. I lived my life without the constant weight of family obligation and guilt. But my family wasn't letting go that easily. The texts and calls increased. My mom went from casual check-ins to increasingly worried messages. Please call me. I'm concerned about you. We need to talk about whatever is bothering you. Derek, who had barely acknowledged my existence for months, suddenly started texting me memes and trying to make conversation. Maya sent me a long message about how she missed me and didn't understand why I was being distant. Even my dad, who rarely initiated contact, sent me a text saying, "Your mother is very upset. Please reach out to her." The thing was, I could see what was happening. They were used to me being the one who chased after them, who made the effort, who bent over backwards to maintain relationships. Now that I'd stopped, they were realizing how one-sided it had been. But instead of apologizing or acknowledging what they'd done, they were trying to make me feel guilty for having boundaries. About 2 months into my low-contact approach, my mom showed up at my apartment, just showed up, unannounced, on a Saturday morning. I buzzed her up because I was too shocked to do anything else. She stood in my doorway and she looked terrible, like she hadn't been sleeping. Part of me felt guilty, part of me felt vindicated. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. I stepped aside and let her in. We stood in my living room, the silence heavy and awkward. "I don't understand what's happening," she finally said. "I don't understand why you've cut us all off. What did we do that was so terrible?" I stared at her. "Are you serious right now?" "I'm completely serious. One day we're a normal family, the next you're barely speaking to any of us. What changed?" "Mom," I said slowly, "you forgot my birthday. You all excluded me from family gatherings for months. You told me I didn't fit with the family anymore. You made me feel like I was wrong for being hurt. That's what changed." "We didn't forget your birthday," she said, and I could hear the defensiveness creeping in. "We all texted you." At 11 p.m., after I spent the entire day alone thinking nobody cared. "So this is all about birthday wishes being late. You're throwing away your entire family over that." "It's not about the birthday wishes," I said, my voice rising. "It's about what it represented. It showed me that I'm not a priority to you. None of you thought about me all day, not once, and when I told you that hurt me, you called me dramatic and sensitive. Because you were being dramatic, Mom said, and her voice was rising too. You're an adult. Adults don't need their mommy to make a big fuss over their birthday. But you make a big fuss over everyone else's birthday, I shot back. Derek's, Maya's, Hannah's, Dad's, even Liam's. You plan these elaborate parties and gatherings. But mine, you couldn't even remember until the last hour of the day. Don't you see how that feels? She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, their birthdays are easier because they're here. They're local. Yours is complicated because you're so far away. It's a 3-hour drive, Mom, not across the country. It might as well be across the country for how often we see you. I visit once a month, I call every week, I show up for important events. What more do you want from me? I want my daughter back, she yelled, and there were tears in her eyes now. I want the girl who used to tell me everything, who loved being home, who was part of this family, not this stranger who looks down on us from her fancy city life. And there it was, the real issue. I never looked down on you, I said quietly. I left for a job, that's it. That's all it was. It wasn't a rejection of you or this town or the family. It was an opportunity for my career. It was a rejection, Mom said firmly. Whether you meant it that way or not, you chose that life over us. Choosing a job isn't choosing against family. Those aren't mutually exclusive things. They are when the job takes you away from everyone who loves you. I felt exhausted suddenly, bone-deep tired. Mom, I can't do this. I can't keep defending my life choices to you. I'm allowed to have a career. I'm allowed to live where I want. That doesn't make me a bad daughter. I never said you were a bad daughter, she said, but it sounded hollow. You didn't have to say it. You all showed me how you felt by excluding me, by lying to me, by treating me like I was the problem. Maybe you are the problem, Mom said, and her voice was cold again. Maybe you need to look at your own behavior instead of blaming everyone else. Get out, I said quietly. What? Get out of my apartment. We're done here. Don't you dare kick me out. I'm your mother. And this is my home, and I'm asking you to leave. We stared at each other for a long moment. Then she grabbed her purse and walked to the door. Before she left, she turned back. I drove 3 hours to come here and try to fix this, to fix us, and you're throwing me out. Don't come crying to me when you realize you've pushed away everyone who ever loved you. She left, slamming the door behind her. I stood in my living room for a long time after she left, just breathing, processing. That conversation had somehow been both exactly what I expected and worse than I imagined. The fallout was immediate. Within hours, I had angry texts from my siblings. Hannah, Mom called me crying. She said you kicked her out. What the hell is wrong with you? Derek, you made Mom drive all that way just to throw her out. That's fucked up. Maya, I don't even know who you are anymore. I didn't respond to any of them. What was the point? They'd already decided I was the villain. Nothing I said would change that. Over the next few weeks, the messages slowed and then stopped. It seemed like they'd all collectively decided to give up on me, which was both relieving and devastating. I'd effectively lost my entire family. But then something interesting happened. My nephew Liam's birthday was coming up. Liam had just turned 7 and I absolutely adored him. He was Hannah's son, and I'd been a huge part of his life up until all this family drama. I was his favorite aunt. We had inside jokes and special traditions. I decided, despite everything with Hannah, that I wasn't going to punish Liam for his mother's behavior. So I bought him a gift, a Lego set he'd been wanting, and I mailed it to him with a card. A few days after his birthday, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I answered, and it was Liam. Aunt Claire, he said, and his voice was so excited it made my heart hurt. I got your present. The Legos are so cool. Mommy helped me start building it. I'm so glad you liked it, buddy, I said, smiling despite myself. Happy birthday. Thank you, Aunt Claire. When are you coming to visit? I miss you. I felt my throat tighten. I miss you too, Liam. Mommy says you're really busy with work, but maybe you could come visit soon. We could build Legos together. Maybe, I said, not wanting to promise something I couldn't deliver. We'll see. Okay, I love you, Aunt Claire. I love you too, buddy. Hannah got on the phone after that. Thank you for the gift, she said stiffly. You didn't have to. I wanted to. It's not Liam's fault his mom and I aren't getting along. There was a pause, then Hannah said quietly, he really does miss you. He asks about you all the time. I miss him too. Another pause. Look, I don't want to fight. I don't even know if I'm mad at you anymore or just tired. This whole thing is exhausting. Yeah, I agreed. It is. Mom's not doing well since your fight. She barely eats. Dad's worried about her. I felt a pang of guilt but pushed it down. I'm sorry she's struggling, but I meant what I said. I can't keep setting myself on fire to keep everyone else warm. I know, Hannah said, and she sounded sad. I think maybe we did handle things badly. The birthday thing especially, that was shitty. It wasn't a full apology, but it was the closest I'd gotten to any acknowledgement of wrongdoing. Thank you for saying that, I said. I don't know how to fix this, Hannah admitted. I don't know if it can be fixed. I don't either, I said honestly. We talked for a few more minutes, carefully avoiding anything too heavy, and then said goodbye. It wasn't reconciliation, but it felt like maybe a tiny crack in the wall that had been built between us. A few days later, Maya reached out, not with accusations or demands, but with a simple message. I'm sorry about your birthday. You deserved better than that. I responded, thank you, that means a lot. We texted back and forth a bit, nothing deep, just small talk about her job and my work. It felt almost normal, which was strange after months of tension. Then Derek surprised me by calling. Hey, he said when I answered, so I've been thinking about stuff. Okay, I said cautiously. I think maybe we, and by we I mean the family, maybe we fucked up. With you, the whole excluding you thing and then getting mad when you pulled away, that was hypocritical. I almost dropped my phone. Derek was many things, but self-reflective wasn't usually one of them. Wow, I said, I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, well, Hannah pointed some stuff out, and Maya was upset about how we treated your birthday, and I thought about it and realized you were right. We did kind of ice you out and then act like you were crazy for being hurt about it. Thank you, I said quietly. You have no idea how much I needed to hear someone say that. I'm not saying Mom's going to apologize or anything, Derek warned. You know how she is, but some of us are realizing that maybe this wasn't all your fault. It wasn't a full family reconciliation, but it was something. My siblings, at least some of them, were starting to see my side. Over the next month, I slowly started rebuilding relationships with my siblings. It was tentative and careful, but it was happening. We texted more regularly. We had actual conversations instead of surface-level exchanges. Hannah even video called me so Liam could show me the finished Lego set. But my parents were a different story. My mom was apparently holding firm in her belief that I was the one who needed to apologize. My dad was stuck in the middle, trying to keep the peace but ultimately siding with my mom. I decided I could live with that. It hurt, yes. The idea that my own mother would rather be right than have a relationship with me was devastating, but I also realized that I couldn't control her choices. I could only control my own. Then, about 4 months after my disastrous birthday, something happened that changed everything. My mom got sick, not seriously, thankfully, but she had to have a minor surgery and would need help during recovery. Hannah called to tell me. I know things are complicated, she said, but I thought you should know. She's going to be fine, but she'll need to take it easy for a few weeks. We're working out a schedule to help Dad take care of her. Okay, I said, thanks for telling me. Do you want to be part of the schedule, to come help? I thought about it, really thought about it. Part of me wanted to say no, to let them handle it, to maintain my boundaries. But another part of me, the part that was still that little girl who loved her mom despite everything, wanted to show up. Let me think about it, I said. I talked to Rachel about it. I talked to my therapist. Yes, I'd started seeing a therapist after all this, and it was incredibly helpful. They both said the same thing. Only I could decide what was right for me, but I needed to go in with clear boundaries and realistic expectations. I decided to visit, not to join the caretaking rotation, but to visit once, to see how my mom was doing, to maybe try to have a real conversation. I drove the 3 hours to my hometown on a Saturday, 2 days after her surgery. I'd texted my dad to let him know I was coming. He responded with a simple thank you. When I arrived at my childhood home, my dad answered the door. He looked older than I remembered, more tired. She's in the living room, he said quietly. She's been resting. I walked in and found my mom on the couch, looking small and frail under a blanket. She looked up when I entered, and I saw surprise flash across her face. Hi, Mom, I said. "You came," she said, and her voice was hoarse. "I heard you weren't feeling well. I wanted to check on you." We looked at each other for a long moment. Then, to my complete shock, my mom started crying. "I'm sorry," she said, the words tumbling out. "I'm so sorry, about your birthday, about everything. I've been awful, I know I have, and I've been too proud to admit it, too stubborn to reach out, but seeing you here after everything, I'm so sorry." I stood frozen, processing this. My mom, who never apologized, who never admitted fault, was crying and saying she was sorry. I sat down next to her carefully. "I'm sorry too, for some of it, for the way I handled things maybe. But Mom, I need you to understand that I was really hurt. You all excluding me, forgetting my birthday, that broke something in me." "I know," she said, wiping at her tears. "Hannah told me everything, about your conversation with her, about how we made you feel. And I've been sitting with it, especially these past few days when I've had nothing to do but think. And I realized that you were right. We did push you away. I pushed you away." "Why?" I asked, the question that had been haunting me for months. What did I do that was so wrong? "Nothing," she said. "You did nothing wrong. That's what makes this so awful. It was me. It was my issue. When you moved away, when you started your new life, I felt like I was losing you, like you were outgrowing us. And instead of being proud, instead of being happy for you, I got defensive. I started pulling away first so it would hurt less when you inevitably left us behind." "I never wanted to leave you behind," I said, and I was crying now too. "I just wanted a career. I still wanted to be part of the family. I know that now, but I couldn't see it then. And I got your siblings on board with my narrative, that you thought you were too good for us now. I poisoned them against you because I was hurt and scared and too proud to just tell you how I felt." We talked for over an hour, really talked, more honestly than we had in years. She told me about her fears of becoming irrelevant to her children as we grew up and moved on with our lives. I told her about the loneliness of feeling excluded from the family I loved. We both cried. We both apologized. It wasn't a magic fix, but it was a start. My dad joined us after a while, and he apologized too, for not standing up for me, for going along with my mom's plan to create distance. We talked about how to move forward, how to rebuild trust, how to be a family again in a way that worked for everyone. I didn't stay the night. I wasn't ready for that yet, but I stayed for dinner, and Hannah and Liam came over, and then Maya stopped by. We all sat around my parents' dining room table, and it felt almost like old times. Almost, but not quite. There was still some awkwardness, still some wounds that needed healing, but it was progress. Over the next few months, we slowly rebuilt our family dynamic. My mom made a real effort to include me in things, to call me regularly, to ask about my life without judgment. My siblings and I got back to our normal rhythms. My dad and I started having one-on-one phone calls, something we'd never really done before. My birthday came around again, my 29th. I didn't know what to expect. Part of me was still braced for disappointment. But at 6 a.m., my phone started ringing. It was my mom, singing happy birthday. By the time I got to work, I'd received calls or texts from every member of my family. My parents sent flowers to my office. Hannah mailed me a care package with my favorite snacks. Derek sent a funny birthday video. Maya organized a virtual birthday toast with everyone on video chat that evening. And the following weekend, when I drove home to visit, there was a birthday celebration waiting for me. Not as elaborate as the ones from my childhood, but thoughtful. A cake with my favorite flavors, a small pile of presents. My whole family gathered together, including me this time. As I stood in my parents' kitchen, surrounded by my loud, messy, imperfect family, I felt something I hadn't felt in almost a year. I felt like I belonged. Things weren't perfect. We still had disagreements. There were still moments of tension, old patterns trying to reassert themselves. But the difference was that now we talked about it. We didn't let resentments fester. We made an effort to include each other, to communicate clearly, to show up for each other. I learned a lot through this whole ordeal. I learned that sometimes the people who love you most can hurt you the deepest. I learned that boundaries are healthy and necessary, even with family. I learned that sometimes you have to pull away to make people realize your value. I learned that pride can destroy relationships faster than almost anything else. And I learned that forgiveness, real forgiveness, is a process, not a moment. Looking back on that awful 28th birthday, that day I spent alone and forgotten, I can see now that it was a catalyst. It forced issues to the surface that had been brewing for a long time. It pushed me to stand up for myself in ways I never had before. It ultimately led to my family confronting some unhealthy dynamics and making real changes. Would I want to go through it again? Absolutely not. It was one of the most painful experiences of my life. But did it lead to something better, something healthier, something more honest? Yes. And for that, as strange as it sounds, I'm almost grateful. My relationship with my family now isn't what it was before I moved away. It's different, but in many ways it's better. It's more authentic. It's based on mutual respect and clear communication rather than assumptions and unspoken expectations. We make an effort with each other because we want to, not because we're obligated to. And I've learned to invest equally in my chosen family, my friends like Rachel who stood by me through all of this, who validated my feelings when my family was gaslighting me, who reminded me of my worth when I felt worthless. Family isn't just blood, it's the people who show up for you, consistently and authentically. As for revenge, I guess I got it in a way, though not in the dramatic fashion I sometimes fantasized about during those angry early days. My revenge was setting boundaries and watching them scramble. It was pulling away and making them realize what they'd lost. It was refusing to accept their gaslighting and forcing them to confront their own behavior. Sometimes the best revenge isn't a grand gesture, it's simply refusing to accept treatment that you don't deserve. I still think about that text from my mom at 11 p.m. on my birthday sometimes. Can you check if I left my blue cardigan at your place? It's seared into my memory as the moment everything became crystal clear. But I also think about her tearful apology months later, her willingness to finally be vulnerable and honest. Both moments are true. Both moments are part of our story. People are complicated. Families are complicated. Love is complicated. Sometimes the people who hurt us most are also the people trying their best with the emotional tools they have. That doesn't excuse the hurt, but it does add context. I'm 29 now. Last month, my family helped me celebrate properly. My mom baked my favorite cake. My dad took me out for our first ever father-daughter dinner, just the two of us. My siblings actually put thought into their gifts, and I felt seen, valued, loved. But I also celebrated with Rachel and my city friends, the family I've built here. I've learned to hold space for both. I don't have to choose between my birth family and my chosen family, between my hometown roots and my city life, between who I was and who I'm becoming. The biggest lesson I learned from all of this is that you teach people how to treat you. For years, I accepted being the one who made all the effort, who bent over backwards, who prioritized everyone else's feelings over my own, and they got comfortable with that dynamic. It was only when I stopped, when I pulled back, when I said this isn't acceptable, that anything changed. Setting boundaries felt selfish and cruel at first. My family certainly made me feel that way, but boundaries aren't about punishment, they're about self-preservation. They're about saying, I deserve to be treated with respect and consideration, and meaning it. I also learned that sometimes people need to lose you to appreciate you. It's a painful truth, but it's true nonetheless. My family didn't value my presence until it was gone. They didn't realize how much effort I'd been putting in until I stopped putting it in. That's sad, but it's human nature. We often don't appreciate what we have until it's gone. The other day, Maya sent me a text out of the blue. It said, I was looking at old photos and found one from your 27th birthday party. Mom went all out. I'm sorry we didn't do that for your 28th. You deserved better. I responded, thank you for saying that. It means a lot. And it did. These little acknowledgments, these validations that yes, I was hurt and yes, I had a right to be hurt, they helped more than any grand gesture could. Hannah and I have gotten close again too, maybe closer than we were before. There's something about going through conflict and coming out the other side that either destroys a relationship or deepens it. In our case, it deepened it. We can talk about hard things now. We don't just skim the surface. Derek is still Derek, living in my parents' basement, but he's actually started looking at apartments. He told me that our whole family blow-up made him realize he'd gotten too comfortable, too stagnant. He said watching me set boundaries and build my own life inspired him to do the same. I never expected that. My dad and I have developed a relationship that's separate from my relationship with my mom, which is new. We talk about sports, about politics, about life. He's told me he's proud of me multiple times, something he rarely said when I was growing up. Better late than never, I guess. And my mom, well, she's trying, really trying. She still has moments where she slips into old patterns, where she gets defensive or tries to guilt me into things. But now I can call her out on it, gently, and she usually catches herself. We're both learning new ways of relating to each other. Last week she sent me a text that said, I'm proud of you for building such a great life for yourself. I'm sorry it took me so long to say that. I cried when I read it, happy tears this time. I think about alternate universes sometimes. What if I'd never found those social media posts? What if I'd just accepted the 11 p.m. birthday texts and moved on? What if I'd never confronted anyone, never set boundaries, never pulled away? In that universe, I'd probably still be desperately trying to win my family's approval, still driving 3 hours each way for gatherings where I felt like an outsider, still accepting scraps of affection and calling it love. I'd be smaller, dimmer, less myself. I'm grateful to be in this universe instead, even though the path here was painful. I'm grateful I found the strength to stand up for myself. I'm grateful my family was ultimately willing to do the work to change. I'm grateful for the friends who supported me. I'm grateful for the therapist who helped me process it all. I'm grateful for every hard lesson. My 30th birthday is coming up in a few months. My mom has already started planning, texting me ideas, asking what I want. It's a little overwhelming, honestly, like she's trying to make up for last year. I've told her to keep it simple, that I don't need anything elaborate, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't touched by the effort. Rachel asked me the other day if I've forgiven my family. I had to think about it. Forgiveness isn't a switch you flip. It's a process, layers and layers of choosing to let go, choosing to move forward, choosing to see people as complex and flawed rather than just their worst moments. Am I still hurt sometimes when I think about my 28th birthday? Yes. Do I still feel a pang when I see those old social media posts of gatherings I wasn't invited to? Yes. Do I still have moments of doubt, wondering if my family really values me or if they're just going through the motions? Yes. But do I also see the genuine effort they're making? Do I see the growth, the change, the real attempts to do better? Also yes. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. It means choosing to not let the hurt define the relationship moving forward. It means acknowledging the pain but not living in it. I've forgiven my family, I think, or I'm in the process of forgiving them. It's ongoing. Some days are easier than others. I've also had to forgive myself for not setting boundaries sooner, for accepting treatment that I shouldn't have accepted, for making myself small to fit into a family dynamic that wasn't healthy, for all the times I knew something was wrong but talked myself out of trusting my own instincts. Self-forgiveness is harder than forgiving others, I've discovered. We hold ourselves to impossible standards, beat ourselves up for being human, for not knowing what we couldn't have known. My therapist told me something that stuck with me. She said, "You can't heal in the environment that hurt you." For a while, I thought that meant I had to cut my family off permanently, but I've come to understand it differently now. It means I had to create space, physical and emotional, to process the hurt without being in the middle of it. It means I had to establish who I was outside of my family's perception of me. It means I had to build a life that wasn't dependent on their approval. And I did that. I am doing that every day. My city life, my career, my friends, my apartment, my hobbies, all of it exists completely separately from my family. They're part of my life, but they're not my whole life. That's healthy. That's how it should be. I can visit home now without losing myself. I can have dinner with my parents without falling back into old patterns of people-pleasing. I can disagree with my siblings without feeling like the family will fall apart. I can say no without drowning in guilt. These might seem like small things, but they're revolutionary for me. Last month, my mom invited me to some family thing. I don't even remember what. I had plans already. In the past, I would have canceled my plans, rearranged my whole schedule, driven 3 hours each way to be there. This time I just said, I can't make it, I have plans, have fun though. And you know what? The world didn't end. My mom said okay. No guilt trip, no manipulation, just acceptance. That's growth for both of us. I'm not going to lie and say everything is perfect now. We still have our issues. There are still topics we avoid, old wounds that are too tender to touch. My relationship with my parents will probably never be as uncomplicated as it was when I was a child, but maybe that's okay. Maybe adult relationships with parents are supposed to be more complex, more negotiated, more boundaried. What I know for sure is that I'm not the same person I was a year ago. That woman who spent her 28th birthday alone and crying, who felt so worthless and forgotten, who questioned her entire existence and value, she's still part of me, but she's not all of me. I'm stronger now. I'm clearer about who I am and what I deserve. I'm less willing to shrink myself to make others comfortable. I'm more connected to my own worth, independent of anyone else's recognition of it. And maybe that's the real gift that came out of this whole terrible experience. Not the family reconciliation, as nice as that is, not the apologies, as validating as those were, but the discovery of my own spine, my own voice, my own value. I didn't need my family to tell me I mattered. I always mattered. I just needed to believe it myself. So yeah, my entire family forgot my birthday. They excluded me, lied to me, gaslit me, and made me feel crazy for being hurt. It was awful and traumatic and changed me fundamentally. But I survived it. I stood up for myself. I set boundaries. I rebuilt relationships on my own terms, and I came out the other side knowing myself better, standing taller, living more authentically. Would I recommend this path to anyone? God, no. I hope nobody else has to go through what I went through. But if you find yourself in a similar situation, if your family is treating you like you don't matter, if you're being excluded and gaslit and made to feel like you're the problem, I want you to know you're not crazy. Your feelings are valid. You deserve better. And it's okay to step back to protect yourself, to demand the respect and love you deserve. It might get worse before it gets better. Your family might double down on their behavior. They might make you out to be the villain. They might never come around. But you'll survive. You'll build a life that doesn't depend on their validation. You'll find people who value you consistently and authentically. You'll discover strengths you didn't know you had. And maybe, if you're lucky like I was, your family will eventually do the work to change. Or maybe they won't, and you'll build a beautiful life anyway. Either way, you'll be okay. Better than okay, you'll be free. That's what I learned from the birthday my family forgot. Not that birthdays matter so much in the grand scheme of things, but that how people treat you on days that are important to you reveals how they really feel about you, and that you have the power to decide what you'll accept and what you won't. I'll never forget my 28th birthday, not because of the celebration, because there wasn't one, but because it was the day I started putting myself first. The day I stopped making excuses for people who weren't treating me right. The day I began the painful, necessary journey towards self-respect and healthy boundaries. So thank you in a weird way to my family for forgetting. Thank you for texting me at 11 p.m. like an afterthought. Thank you for excluding me and then getting mad when I pulled away. Thank you for showing me exactly where I stood so I could decide where I wanted to stand instead. And thank you to Past Me, the woman crying alone on her birthday, for being brave enough to acknowledge the hurt instead of stuffing it down, for being strong enough to set boundaries even when it felt impossible, for believing that she deserved better even when everyone was telling her she was being dramatic. We made it, we're okay. Actually, we're better than okay. We're free.